Hi everyone, welcome to the seventh episode of enCamino. I still remember when I announced the recording of Jeff's show last summer, and now we are like October 2025. I know it took forever, but it's finally out. So the enCamino series is a collection of conversation designed to inspire everyone who has a special project and sometimes doesn't know where to start. enCamino means on the way in Spanish. The show is really all about a special journey that we kind of all have, in our heart. A journey for what? A journey to where? Well, that's up to you to tell. But it depends of each of us, and we have those projects that are dear to us. So that's why I really wanted to create the show, and I'm sure you will see the point when you listen to Jeff's recording today. If you want to support the show, you can visit our Patreon profile on our website to become a patron and support the show. Last thing, don't forget to share the episode with a friend. That would be great. Thank you. So here we are. So last summer, I had the chance to see Jeff, an old friend that I haven't seen in years. And long story short, I met Jeff at York University in Toronto back in 2009. We were both studying history. He finished his PhD and I didn't. But recently we reconnected thanks to the fact that he was going to do a tour in Latin America that he did this summer. And he was going to pass by El Salvador, where my father-in-law lives, in San Salvador. So Christian and I invited him over for dinner, and we recorded the conversation that night. We reconnected, and it was an amazing evening. For the ones who doesn't know him, Jeff is not only my friend, he's an author, an historian. He's also an amazing guitarist, a songwriter, and a producer who co-wrote and produced Emmanuel Jal's Juno-nominated album, The Key. He's the author of The Hidden Sounds, Discover Your Own Method on Guitar, and a regular guitar tip contributor to the Acoustic Guitar Magazine and Guitar World. Recently, he released a new album called Momentum that you will listen at some point in this show. Please welcome him with me and enjoy the show. Take care. Hi, Jeff. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us on the show. How have you been since the last time I saw you, years ago?
It's been a really great adventure in a lot of different ways. It's really great to reconnect with you today, Quentin, after all these years. Yeah.
Thank you. So, we'll be speaking about music, about, academia, about creativity. And I wanted to start this show with asking you, the big question, what does where do you get that drive for music? It seems so central in your life. I'm really curious.
Right. Well, I think to answer that question, I would have to go back to when I've always loved music, even as a child. Listening to my dad's records, in the 1980s and dancing to music and watching, musicians on TV really inspired me to want to do music. And then when I was about 13, I discovered my father's records, like The Doors, Jimi Hendrix, a lot of classic rock albums. And that was life-changing because suddenly I wanted to play guitar. And from that time, I fell in love with music immediately. I learned how to play about 3 chords and then started an original band, only knowing 3 chords, and we performed, as a 14-year-old kid, and started playing gigs when I was about 15, and then playing bars when I was underage, like 16, 17, but they let me go in to play at them and things. So I fell in love and had that passion. Now, fast forward all these years, I've always had the passion for music. It's never left me, and it's been a great vehicle for kind of traveling the world and meeting friends from all over the world and playing with musicians. So that's been one of my drives, is to connect with people from all different cultures, all different, it doesn't matter. There's been so many times where you could, connect with someone in a very unusual way. Let me give you one example. I remember a few years ago being at an airport, waiting for the flight, and I had to stay all night. And so I was just playing guitar, and I started playing, and this guy walked up behind me and started singing in Mandarin. He could only speak one word of English, but he sang, and we jammed together. Like, I played the chords and he sang in Mandarin, for like an hour. You know what I mean? And then we shook hands, and then never saw each other again. Yeah. So moments like that, have been really inspiring in the drive. But for me personally, it's a part of my everyday routine. I still want to keep improving. And, on a personal note, I'd say like maybe 2 years ago, I made some personal breakthroughs in my guitar playing. After all these years, I played for many years, played a lot of awesome shows, met a lot of great people. But I made some breakthroughs and just kind of reconceptualized how I actually play guitar. Because when you play for a long time, you get habits. And you will sometimes rely on those habits, and you'll hit a plateau, and then you might hit a peak, and then you might plateau out for a while before you go to the next one. But I found that just by committing to daily practice and wanting to improve on the instrument and be more expressive and keep that love of learning, and keep learning new things on the guitar, that's been a real drive for me to want to keep going and keep playing, and still I have such a passion for performance, whether it's playing by myself for like, I don't know, 100 people or something, or playing in a stadium show for like 26,000, with an artist like Emmanuel Jal, who I've worked with for many years. It's just a wonderful experience, and it keeps me wanting to play and wanting to learn more. And I think it'll be that way. I mean, I predict it will always be that way. It's been that way so far for all these years. So it's that drive definitely comes from that yearning of wanting to learn new things, wanting to improve my craft, and it gives purpose and meaning in my life. It's definitely a core. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, and that's probably why I appreciate you and I like spending time with you. We'll speak about the academic part of your life, but there is that, I love that you use the word longing, like that almost that philosophical aspect of your music. In your last album, the idea of a momentum is central. The up, the down of life. Can you tell us a bit more about that central idea of the momentum?
Sure. I think it came from reflecting on my own musical career in general. How there's, and I'll kind of say that to me, it's kind of like energy, momentum comes in waves in your life. There are times when everything seems to be going right, and things, stars are aligning, connections are being made, you're progressing in whatever your endeavor may be. For me personally, in music and history and writing, a lot of great things have happened in the last 15 years. And there's been periods of time where everything went really there was a momentum, there was energy, there was things guiding me, and it seemed, then on the other flip side, there's also been times where it was challenging, that's why I say that to me, momentum is a series of waves that keep coming, and when it comes, when you have that time period in your life where everything seems to be aligning, just to enjoy it, cherish it, and really value those things that they're happening, because everything passes, right? You have a time where things are going really well, and there might be a down period for a while, but fear not, there will be another wave, coming down if you're dedicated to your craft, and if you keep a positive attitude, or try to at least, and create habits that in your own life, mental habits, physical habits, that kind of keep that positive energy. I think that you can work through, difficult times, and just be, kind of know inside that you're going to have that next period where things are going right, So I guess the album, to me, I wrote it during a time where I was having a lot of good momentum. Okay. And I thought to myself, this is a period where I'm really writing some stuff and kind of pushing my own guitar performance to a new level. And just in life in general, things are going really good, man. So it's just recognizing that whole pattern throughout your life, where there's waves of momentum, and then there's a lull, and might be difficult, things are not happening, but then the next good wave comes, and just to be patient and kind of ride out those difficult times. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're probably gonna edit this and add, that momentum song, which is one of the track of the album. It's so beautiful.
Thanks.
I keep listening to it. I find it's really powerful and beautiful, and just it goes. It kind of you find an harmony with a part of yourself with that, the violin and the guitar. It's just. Thank you for creating that song.
Oh,
So it's a bit cheesy, but I found
I like cheese.
I found a quote of Mozart in a book called Daily Ritual. It's a book by Mason Curry where he describes the daily life of many, like famous writers and composers like Simone de Beauvoir, Beethoven, or Kafka. And I was, going to invite you to just, listen to the quote and just maybe like share with us if your daily routines are anything like him, or not, or is really like out of curiosity. You spoke already a few times about habits, and routines. Right. So I'm just going to read it and just, if you can just share your thought about it. So it starts here. So my hair is always done by 6 o'clock in the morning, and by 7 I'm fully dressed. I then compose until 9. From 9 to 1 I give lessons. Then I lunch, unless I'm invited to some house where they lunch at 2 or even 3 o'clock. I can never work before 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. And even then, I'm often prevented by a concert. If I'm not prevented, I compose until 9. At 10:30 or 11, I come home. As I cannot rely on being able to compose in the evening owing to the concerts which are taking place, it's my custom to compose a little before going to bed. I often go on writing until 1, and I'm up again at 6. So what do you think? Would you say it's something similar to your creative life or not at all? Like, I'm curious.
Well, I'd say that a couple of things. One is, I think it depends, looking back 10 years ago, my life was very much, I wouldn't say, the whole day was dedicated towards those types of things, like where you're waking up. Well, let me just start with my routine today. Every day I've committed for, say, the last 2 years to waking up at usually around 5 and going to the gym, doing running, doing weightlifting during the day. And I always start my day before I look at any social media or anything like that, or cloud my mind with anything. I always go and do the physical, for about an hour, 4 or 5 days a week.
Congrats, because I can, I'm speaking about those things, but it would be really challenging for me. So congrats for that, because it's
I forced myself to get up. I set the alarm for 4:50 or 5 o'clock. And then, oh my God. So I do that. And then I come back, and then I will do meditation for the last 2 years. Every single day, no matter what, I will do 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending, and prayer. But mostly meditation I do. And that's the foundation. Then I'll eat, and then I'll work on my guitar. I will practice every single day. And I'll take different things, these things called modes. Like I'll take a couple of chords and I'll improvise over the chords using different scales and modes, but then also thinking about how I can move laterally around the guitar and horizontally and vertically, but a lot of times horizontally, which is something I didn't do for many years. I mentioned earlier about changing your habits. So this is part of my routine. Those 3 things are core to me every day. The exercise, the meditation, prayer, and then the music. And that's what I do to start my day. This is before 8 o'clock. And then if I have projects, I can also spend my time working on that. But towards the end of the day, I have a weekly habit of working with a couple of other producers, writing team that I'm part of. Okay. So we set time from 3 till 6 usually. And we'll go once a week, twice a week, and that's what we do. So that's the routine I have musically. Other times, if I have projects coming in, then I'll work on those projects, in the evenings mostly, as I do have other jobs at this point, right? But I said earlier about depending on what time of my life it was. 20 years ago, I worked on ships. So I had a lot of free time. I could just practice guitar for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day and perform every single day. So I really devoted my time at that time in my 20s to really working on everything I'd studied in music school and everything I learned as a teenager. And then in my 30s, I didn't really take on a day gig until I was 38 years old, really. I kind of balanced a lot of stuff. So I had a lot of free time to do it. But here's the interesting thing. Those habits, to me, it's my state of mind is I'm not going to let the other things I have to do control that. Those things are non-negotiable. So doing the doing the exercise, doing the meditation and prayer, doing the guitar practice every day is just like brushing my teeth. Like I have to do those things. And as a routine, it gets really easy. Now, sometimes I go to bed earlier than I used to. You know, being in my mid 40s, I'll go to bed at 8 o'clock. I'll go to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I'll sleep till 5. So changing my sleep habits has also been a big one. Because before, I was really sleep deprived, and I was really tired all the time, and I almost burnt out, in my early 40s, because my routine was so intense. I've really learned a lot better time management, now. So if I'm focusing on guitar for 40 minutes or an hour as my warm-up, whatever, I'm really focused. Nothing else. I turn off the phone, no distractions. And, I'll work on that. So I think, having a daily routine is really important for me personally. And I value the time I have for each of those activities, a lot more than I used to perhaps, because some people tend to think too, when you do have a day job as an artist or someone who's playing, that it will take away. But I disagree. It's given me a lot of freedom to really enjoy the other things so much more and cherish, like when we have big concerts or being part of a history show or something on TV, whatever. I really love that stuff. I cherish it so much in balance with the other parts of my life, which I also like in teaching students music and things like that. I really enjoy the balance of that, So I would say that the routine for me has changed a lot in the last few decades, but I feel more focused than ever, just by really focusing on the time I do have to work on these things, so.
Thanks for sharing that, Jeff, so much. One of my clients is writing an application for a grant, and so it seems that she's probably gonna have like a full 2 months of available for writing and produce her documentary. It's gonna be a huge change for a routine, right? And you spoke about how central it is for you, and I saw also that you're doing tours, for your music. So I was wondering, do you have any thought you could share about how managing that drastic change of not lifestyle, but of routine, and how can you keep your priorities at the heart of what you're doing during those transition time, maybe?
Sure. So, I'll give you an example. Last summer, I did 2 months. It was 2 months of just traveling. I had 30 shows in 2 months. With almost every other day was an event on 5 continents. Last summer was very intense, and it was great.
Where did you go?
I started in Asia, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and then went to South Pacific, Samoa, Fiji, and then went to Thailand, my wife's country, and did a lot of events there. I took my wife on the first part of the tour. And then after that, I went to Australia, New Zealand, and then to East Africa, Ethiopia and Rwanda and Uganda, all these places, and then South America, and then came back. So it was a whole summer full of music, concerts, workshops, universities, theaters, festivals, and then book talks too for history book talks. But to answer your question more directly, and I'll say that the routine of it. So right now, for the last little while, I've been teaching at a school for 10 months a year, and the routine I described earlier is what I do every day. But I'll say getting ready for that change, and for me personally, in July and August is when I'll have a total shift. I'm actually practicing even more probably leading up to that musically, but I'll just say too, because I've done this a few times over the last 15 years, I've learned what to expect. So I know for those 10 months, it's pretty predictable. I'm going to wake up and do this and that. I'm going to practice and do that. When I'm playing, though, I feel like those 10 months have led me up to that. So now I have to have a mental shift. I'm not going to be, going to the gym every day. I'll still do my meditation and my practice every day, no matter where I am. If it's in a hotel, if it's at the venue before I play, I'll still keep that up. And you can also, too, if you're staying at a hotel that has a gym facility or there's a beach or something, I go running out and do it there, if available. But I'm also of the state of mind that everything for me is about the next event. I'll go around and look at some cool stuff, but then I'll make sure that I take a nap and I sleep and I change my habits a little bit, geared towards that next show or event that I'm going to play. So, and then I also know that when the fall comes around, I'll go back to my other routine. So your client has 2 months to really focus on the documentary, right? Production. I think setting up a schedule is useful too. Because I'll say that I've been working on writing a history show for some time, but I also made sure without besides the music, I made sure that I would allow myself, okay, I'm just going to write a minimum of 2 hours every day on this thing. And on the weekends, maybe 10 hours. You know what I mean? Like, so making sure that I do that. But in a more relaxed way. When I was younger, I worked relentlessly and chased things, you know. Now the shift for me personally is that I am more relaxed and focused for an hour or two on a task, and then I'll go take a walk with my wife, or I'll go do something else and go enjoy my life, you know, and then come back to the work because it'll be there, you know. And I found that since that shift in my mental, you know, in my focus, there's been a lot of things just coming to me. I don't have to chase things; things come to me. So I would say that just be open to this new schedule for your client. Maybe schedule, you know, and say, okay, I'm going to put, 2 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, you know, and then leave some time to go for a walk. I find by scheduling things, you really will, you'll stay true to the goal. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm going to put these couple hours in, and then you feel good. They don't have to be like monumental, like I'm going to do 12 hours and 12 hours and 12 hours. Mm-hmm. You know, because that can burn you out. You know, I've experienced that, you know, in history world and things like that. But I'll just say that, you know, do measurable tasks, and that gives you confidence, because then you build your confidence, and then you can expand it if you want to. If you're feeling inspired, write for 10 hours. But, you know, as long as you every day put in that you know, if you say it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, do it every day. You know what I mean? Be accountable to yourself, and you'll see the results over time. You know, over time. So just, you know, being open-minded enough to switch. And be like, okay, I have this routine that's worked for these 10 months. Now I'm going to go into a new routine, you know? And personally for me too, I know that when I travel a lot, I'm going to get a lot of exercise anyways. Just like walking and going from airport to hotel to airport, walking everywhere and going on the gigs. Like I tend in the summer to get really healthy, you know, and tend to eat really healthy food too in a way. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Switch a bit, you know, to maybe like the financial and, you know, part, but like, are you able to live from your music right now? And if yes, how long did it take, and how did you stay motivated? Like, you know, some people that I'm working with are they have an amazing dream, and they realize that it's, you know, it takes some money for like to invest in, you know, time, and so they have to have side gigs, you know, like, is there did you experience, are you still experiencing that? And hopefully maybe can you motivate people who are, you know, in that reality in a way?
Absolutely. So let me just reflect on my own story a little bit. I made my living, all my income as a musician all throughout my 20s when I got done university. And I did not work a day job till I was 38. So during that time, I would make money. You know, I knew you at the university. Yeah. I got a little bit from doing the PhD history studies. I got some from writing magazines like National Geographic and others, and Guitar World, and then also too from playing shows, like really high end, really good shows. I was making good money. Plus, you get money from royalties and things like that on songs. So I was able to do that. Now, when I was about 38, though, I will say that I had a lot of highs and lows during that period in my 30s, where sometimes I had a lot of income and sometimes I didn't have much. And so I decided to take a day job. But at that time, I was thinking, is this going to be the end? This is the kind of questions I had. Am I still going to have the freedom to go play? And the answer is yes. It did not slow me down. So don't be fearful if you do take, quote unquote, a day job. Now, my day job is also based on my passions, based on music. So the way I look at it, it's still the core of my life is the writing and the music, you know, like a musician. I kind of look at myself as a polymath in that I have a lot of different interests. And I don't think you have to pick one. Some people say you must pick one. I don't think so. I think you can use your talents and create different incomes, in my case, in writing and history and music and teaching, all these different things, like and you'll learn you just learn so many new things too. You'll always stay you know, what's the word, you always keep that passion you have. But back a bit more to the financial, so yeah, having that solid base has given me freedom where if I have to play a show, there's been times where I flew out on a Saturday, played a concert, and then came back and I was teaching on Monday. But like on the weekend I went somewhere, or if we had like scheduling a show somewhere and you had a 4-day weekend like Easter or something like that, or another thing, I would go and play a show and come back, and then, you know, I'd do the family thing as well. Maybe we'd arrange for a different time. So I'll just say that it certainly didn't slow me down, and in fact I think it took a lot of pressure off myself, and then in turn that led to a lot more income. through my because I didn't have the pressure to worry about it. So I would be writing for Guitar World or getting on one of these history TV shows, and to me it's all money that goes into my business. So I have the day gig, which is a great foundation. It's still using my talents. So I would say don't fear having that day gig. It's sometimes looked down upon, but I think you have to do what you have to do these days. The world's changed a lot. It's even since I started music, 20, 30 years ago. I'll just say that it's changed a lot. Back then it's like you're just going to do the music, but I think you can use your creative talents in many different ways. And in the last few years, personally, I've been able to do music for audiobooks. I did music for a wrestler's theme, like all these things I never thought I would ever do. And that keeps it exciting, that keeps it exciting because it's like, I have to come up with a 30-second guitar thing for this particular thing that's going to be played every time this wrestler enters, or a section of an audiobook, a romance audiobook. Like, it's a real gift. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's, you just got to have an open mind, I think, and you can find multiple ways to earn income. You don't have to pick just one. I think being versatile, having a diverse skill set is more important than ever these days. And I think that if you are working a day job, and doing your passion at the same time, you'll be, I think you can find a good life balance doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems that a lot of what you do around the music is tied to writing and the academic side of your life that I knew first, actually. Before knowing you're part of you spoke to during a TED talk in McMaster. You took part to that public speaking at UCLA. You've written I think 4 music textbooks. So you have all that like maybe more intellectual or more analytical part. How do those two sides of your life complement each other?
Right. I would say that they're both different creative expressions from the same energy. That's all it is. You know what I mean? And it kind of goes back to what I was saying about having multiple interests. I've always been interested in a lot of different things. I've always been passionate and loved history. That's why I wanted to travel the world to see all these great temples and historical sites and, try the food in different cultures and jam with musicians from all different cultures. So the history part to me was really, part of that. It was just part of that journey. And I'll be honest with you too. I think I was traveling in my 20s through Africa, and that's really when I wanted to focus my studies on understanding colonial histories, was because I saw a lot of imbalance, not just in Africa but other places too, the imbalance between the haves and the have-nots, and it really bothered me. You know what I mean? Like, it really touched my heart, and that's why I really want to understand, okay, what's the history here? I thought I knew the history, but when you really dive into history, you see it totally differently. So I think history is knowledge. I think that it gives you context for everything. You're less likely to say something foolish. You know what I mean? Like, if you understand the history of a place. So I think, the history part too, I've always loved watching, shows and documentaries and reading books about the subject ever since I was a kid. So that was also part of my creative expression, really. And they did complement each other, and they still do. And I hope to do more, combining my musical talents and my interest in history, down the road.
That's so fascinating. And it tells you, I guess that's how you choose the place you go, play music, so there is always it's not just about playing music, it's about playing music somewhere, a context and an audience, I guess.
Absolutely. And also combining, usually if I'm like this summer, I'm doing some musical shows and things, but I'm also doing history book talks at universities on the way as well. So maybe if in Costa Rica, I'll do a musical performance and I'll get 2 events and a history talk, and you get different audiences and different conversations, and it allows you to keep learning, which I like.
So it's a bit out of the blue, but I like asking that question to my guest. Is happiness a real thing for you? Is it something? It's a social construct? Is it so I'm not asking what is happiness, but do you think it's something that is reachable, possible? What is happiness?
Sure. I'll say that for me personally, I've been in a really good, happy state for the most part for the last 2 years. When I had a bit of a revelation when I went to Easter Island when I was 45 2 years ago. or Rapa Nui as it's known in the South Pacific. There was one day after, I think I had a day off, and I was playing a couple of events out there, musical events, and then one day I was just walking around, and I remember the sun was setting in the South Pacific, and I just had this overwhelming feeling of fulfillment. And just thinking that you have everything you need. You know, you have a great family and wife and friends, and you've been able to travel and do all these great things in music and writing. And it just felt like a oneness and a peace. So ever since then, I've been very cognizant and very aware of that life balance, and just being appreciative of what you have now. Because, you know, for many years, I look back fondly on what happened, you know, but it was almost insatiable. It was always like, okay, you know, got to achieve this, got to achieve that, got to do this. I put 12 hours in here, and then the next thing. I didn't really have time to appreciate at that time the things I had, you know. So that was in my 30s. But in my 40s, I found my mid 40s in particular, a real balance in life and a real appreciation. Like, I will go for a walk now. I will take time off. I'll put down what I'm doing, and I'll come back to it later. I'm not worried about doing this. I think also, too, if you go for something that you're very passionate about, you know, for me personally, with music, you'll never have regrets. Like, I don't have any regrets, really, honestly. I feel like in my 30s, and for me personally, I'd done music before that, but the real success that I'd hoped to get, like, you know, playing huge festivals and playing a handful of stadiums and arenas and playing with my hero, opening for, you know, Peter Gabriel and some people I really respect musically, that'll happen in my 30s. It didn't happen in my 20s or my teens. And, you know, it's been like a long road, and it's continuing to happen in my 40s. But I'll just say, like, going for that, you know, I don't have any regrets. You know, I just looking back very fondly on all the great things that happened, you know, and taking a chance on going for your dreams, you know. I think that also, too, can lead to happiness. But I'm more mature now than I was before, for sure. And I'll just say that the life balance thing has really struck me in the last few years. Just like, you know, in our society, you know, you always this idea, you need this, you need that, you got to go. I just cut all the noise out, and it's like, no, I'm really content, you know, with what's happened. And I just want to also, too, I think happiness is linked to learning for me personally, learning new skills. Like during COVID, learning how to use, I'd always done recording studio stuff, and I knew a little bit about it, but I always have like an engineer or somebody do that, and I just go play. But then during COVID, I'm like, no, I'm going to really dig into this and learn how to do it myself, and learn how to produce properly and all this. So I'm very proud that every day was, you know, studying that, for like putting time in every day. Just every day, if it was like 4 hours one day or 20 minutes the next, it's like little chunks of time every day over time adds up, right? So I think learning new things also has brought me happiness as well, too. Yeah.
Thanks so much. I hope you guys that you feel, you know, as inspired as I feel right now to hear Jeff. Before, you know, like before we partake, is there anything, you know, that you would like to share with the audience about, you know, like maybe what's new, what's coming up, you know, we are in June, so maybe this summer. I would love to hear this.
Sure. So this summer, I'm going to play shows. I'm starting out in Cuba. I'm going to Cuba and all through Central America, from like El Salvador and Costa Rica, Panama, a few other places, and then one stop in South America to Suriname. The reason I'm going there is that I've been to all the countries in South America except for Suriname, so I want to go there. And I also have a friend who performed there, and he recommended I go, and it's the guy that I'm in contact with is cool. Then see some old friends in Trinidad, and then to Dominican Republic, and then the rest of the shows will be in Asia and Thailand at universities and guitar festivals and things like that, and potentially in Europe at the end of the summer too. I got some shows booked. I'm just working out the logistics of it right now. So that's kind of what I'm up to now. Also, I've been doing some work with a great team. My friend's name is Gagan Singh, and also Umer. And we've written some music for a movie that's coming out in the fall. It's called Sings in the Ring, and it's a history of different wrestlers of Indian heritage that have worked in. So we got some music into the film. So it's going to come out, I believe, on Crave TV in Canada in the fall, and potentially some different film festivals as well. So that's kind of what's happening now. And I'm also kind of working on a show. I've been writing it for a couple of years, that I'm going to present soon. I'll just say it has to do with music, and the other one has to do with history. Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll make sure that all the links for all those, this information is on the website. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It was just a glimpse, and I invite everyone to follow him. I'm about to share all the details, but thank you again, Jeff, and hope to have you on the show soon.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we go, this is a beautiful track that we recorded with Jeff about his title Starlight, and a bit more about the history of the song. Enjoy.
All right, I'm going to share a little song with you. This is Starlight. I've put out 3 solo guitar albums, but it's the first one I like to start a lot of shows with, and it was written while traveling through West Africa by motorcycle from Sierra Leone to Liberia. And my friend and I, we weren't able to cross the border because they closed it at 6 o'clock. We missed it by 10 minutes, so we had no place to stay. So a family actually offered to take us in at the border, and we slept on like the mats, whatever, in their place for the night, and then continued our journey. So I wrote this song based on just seeing all the starlight come out as we were approaching, and the beautiful African night. And there's a thing called harmonics, and each one of those is meant to represent the star in the sky. So this is called Starlight.
Thank you so much. That's
Thank
cool.
you. Thank you. Usually, this is also an electric guitar too. It goes in an amp.
So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I did. You can follow Jeff on social media, on his Instagram and Facebook accounts. You can also go on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music to listen all of his album, and in particular maybe the last one, Momentum. If you felt inspired by the episode, go check our coaching program on the website, and send me a little email if you want to start something. Thank you so much for listening to the episode. See you at the next show, and thank you again, Jeff, for this. Take care.